The Morning Sports Desk, available on demand on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and WDCradio.com.
Is the Morning Sports Desk powered by Pizza Ranch and the FunZone Arcade in Wadena. I'm CJ Baumgartner, Corey Tackman over there. Corey, high school sports season trudging along. Before we begin, though, I do want to mention a note of history that Kyle Gelsin has passed along here into my studio. January 9th, which is today.
Yeah.
Back in 1977 at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena.
Yeah.
Super Bowl 11. The Oakland Raiders beat the Minnesota Vikings 32-14.
Ooh, they didn't win that one, huh?
No, they did not. And in fact, it was the last time the Vikings have made it to the Super Bowl. That was their fourth crack at the apple, and Bud Grant and company lost all four. To be fair, those Raiders teams were good. That Chiefs team they played was good. That I think they played the Dolphins one year. They were good.
Mm-hmm.
But
those Vikings teams were arguably better.
Or at least on that level.
And didn't win. The good thing, I saw that note also. The good news is that it doesn't say it was the last Super Bowl appearance ever.
Hey.
It's just a better way would be to say their most recent trip to the Super Bowl.
So what you're saying is there's a chance.
More like 1 in a million.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Go! I'm ready. I'm ready for a trip to the Super Bowl.
Let's do it. Hey, on the broadcast schedule tonight, we got a good one, Corey. I'm excited about this matchup. Park Region Conference girls basketball on the Superstation K106, 105.9 FM, also streaming online at WDCradio.com or the Superstation K106 mobile app. 7:15 pregame, 7:30 tip-off. Menahga at Wadena Deer Creek. Corey, both of these teams have played 5 games in the Park Region Conference. What do you think their records are in the Park Region Conference?
The same?
Yes. What are they?
Undefeated?
Both teams are 5-0 in Park Region Conference play, tied at the top of the PRC. We'll find out who takes that lead tonight. And obviously they'll play later in the year. But in terms of jockeying for position, this game is huge. It's also a Section 8 AA game, which is huge for both teams as well in QRF and in postseason seeding and just bragging rights. And look, we both know Coach Cressett at Wadena Deer Creek. We both know Coach Pouliou in Menahga. And I think they'd probably tell you this if you asked them, but that's a game that they both have circled on their calendars, right?
Yeah. I don't know what else. Yes,
of course.
It's a really big game. This is a really big game for lots of really big reasons. So yeah, I would say this is they've been thinking about this one.
Both of them have been thinking about it for Park Region Conference reasons, for postseason reasons, obviously, like we've talked about in the Park Region Conference, just to pull up the standings here. So everybody kind of knows where everything is at in the PRC for girls basketball. Menahga, Wadena Deer Creek, they're both up at the top at 5-0. Bertha Hewitt at 3-2. New York Mills and Sabika at 2-2. Pillager at 2-3. Verndale and Henning both at 0-5 right now in the conference. For the Braves, they just keep humming right along. They are 8-0, 1-0 in Section 8 AA play, 5-0 in the Park Region Conference, 5-0 on the road, 3-0 at home. Their one Section 8 AA win was against War Road. They won 83-25. Otherwise, they have some wins as well throughout the year against Staples Motley, New York Mills, Verndale, Bertha Hewitt, Monoman Waban. So some of the wins that they've had here on the year. I think both teams feel like this is a good barometer for where they're at here. For Wadena Deer Creek, they've played a few more games in Section 8 AA to this point. They're 2-3 in the section, 8-3 overall, 5-0 in the conference, 3-2 on the road, 5-1 on their home floor, which they are playing tonight. Their losses on the year have come on the road against Pelican Rapids. That's a team that's towards the top in Section 8 AA. Barnesville, another team on the road that's high up in the section. They lost those games there. Dilworth, Glendon, Felton, they played on Monday, and they fell, and then they've had Tuesday and Wednesday to prepare for this game here. So I mean, this should be a fun one. Looking at the Section 8 AA standings, Pelican Rapids in first place. Their QRF value about 81.7. Dilworth, Glendon, Felton 79.7. Barnesville 69.8. Then you have Menahga at 57.9. Thief River Falls 57.2. Wadena Deer Creek 53.4. Holly 53.1. And then you have Frazee, East Grand Forks, Perham, Park Rapids area, Crookston, Rosa, Warroad, all kind of going down the line here. So this is two teams in the top, does that make it 6 in Section 8 AA. So this is going to be fun. I think both teams are ready for this challenge, for local bragging rights, for tournaments, for everything that we talked about. Obviously, Menahga is a team that is calculated. So is Wadena Deer Creek. They're both teams that are well coached. They both have players that can play. They both are very deliberate in their styles and what they want to do. It's just fun to see kind of these two teams go at it. I mean, we've talked about it before, but it's just at this point in the year, both teams are kind of entrenched and they kind of know who they are. And now you get to see two teams go at it for bragging rights. I just feel like this is going to be a good one tonight. I don't know.
Correct.
I'm trying to not tease you because that's not like a very bold take.
I think two good teams playing will be a good game.
If there's a good game in the area to watch tonight, it's this one.
It's this one.
It is funny to hear you go through the Section 8 AA standings and have it reiterated to me why that section moved away from subsections.
Yeah.
Shout out Thief River Falls for making it interesting at least a little bit, because otherwise that was the only team that would have been in the north.
Mm-hmm.
The other 7 that you listed of the top 8, I think were all like southern teams.
Yeah. It kind of
moved. That section made the right move to move away from subsections.
They need to seed 1 through 16.
Yep.
They just need to. And both Menahga and Wadena Deer Creek, if the season ended today, would be hosting home playoff games. So
exactly.
This is a good one. Menahga obviously does the press. Wadena Deer Creek, good half-court man-to-man defense. We've talked about this off-air. We've talked about this on-air before about some of the players that both these teams have and why they excite us. It's going to be a good one. Listen on the Superstation K106 tonight or online, WDenaRadio.com. Superstation K106 mobile app. 7:15 pregame, 7:30 tip-off. Braves and Wolverines from WDC. And as always, find the full broadcast schedule online at WDenaRadio.com. All right, Corey, one last local thing to touch on for the morning sports desk. And this is something that was put out by the New York Mills School Facebook page. And we also have an article up at WDenaRadio.com and on the Sports Cal Facebook page talking about this. So there was a family in Bertha Hewitt, the Bertha Hewitt area, that lost their homes in a fire. Nobody was hurt, but you lose everything in that fire. Mm-hmm. And both of these communities are finding out a way to help. So you're putting the Park Region Conference rivalry aside for one night. And instead of charging attendance for Thursday night's girls basketball game between New York Mills and Bertha Hewitt in Bertha, a free will donation box will be set up, and both communities can kind of donate some money to try and help these families out. The New York Mills School Facebook page put out a post yesterday kind of telling people, hey, this is what's going on. Be prepared for that. JV game starting at 6:00 tonight, tip-off 7:30 from Bertha. And, obviously sports are fun. Rivalries are fun. That should be a fun girls basketball game tonight between Bertha Hewitt and New York Mills. But it's just cool to see communities in this area come together.
Well, and as we all know, right, there's like, we're talking about people who are probably related to each other. There's people in New York Mills who are related to people from Bertha Hewitt and vice versa. Like, that's just when you're from an area, most people don't go very far away from home after high school and they get into jobs, they get into careers, they get into what, like, most people generally stay around where they're from. So we're not only talking about neighboring communities and rival communities in the athletic world, but we're also talking about certainly families who and friends who know each other from each of these communities. It's much more familial than just two towns from the same conference. And yeah, to your point, once again, folks here in central Minnesota doing their best to lift each other up when they need it most. It's pretty cool.
Pretty darn cool. You can find the full story online at WDenaRadio.com. Once again, that game in Bertha tonight, 6:00 for the varsity or for the JV game, 7:30 for the varsity. All right, Corey, as always, we like to give a shout out to the good sponsors of this show, and Pizza Ranch, FunZone Arcade in Wadena. And, gosh darn it, Corey, why don't we just do that again?
Let's do that again, indeed. From the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena's Facebook page, an opportunity for you to win a $100 Pizza Ranch gift card. They've got a survey that's linked on their Facebook page and via a website that you can go fill out. If you complete the survey, you're entered into a weekly drawing for one of two $100 Pizza Ranch gift cards. And they just want to celebrate with you, want to know how they're doing. And then just for helping them out in that way, you're entered in to win that $100 gift card. So check out the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade on Facebook. While you're there, you'll also see that the Crantastic Salad is back at the salad bar. It's for a limited time only with the raspberry walnut vinaigrette you could use with it. We know the salad bar at Pizza Ranch is delicious. So stop on in for your meal, have a little fun at the FunZone Arcade, check out the Skittles vending machine, and you are set. Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena.
All right, so the Minnesota Vikings getting ready for their playoff game against the Los Angeles Rams. It's a big one.
Of Anaheim,
yes, of course. How could we forget? Of Inglewood? I think the stadium's actually in Inglewood.
Of Arizona.
Yeah, well, that's what it might be. Due to the LA wildfires, the NFL put out a statement yesterday saying that if they are not able to play that game in Los Angeles due to the wildfires in the area, then they would move it to Arizona instead. And there's a couple different things to factor into that. One is that SoFi Stadium actually isn't completely enclosed. So it's kind of like basically if the Vikings just left the big swinging doors open all the time. Mm-hmm. Because it's Los Angeles. The weather's perfect there all the time. You don't need
the desert.
Right. You don't need to fully close that thing. So the air quality is going to be iffy. Depending on how we talked about this before off the air, Corey, how the wind blows, how the weather looks that day. It's why the league hasn't formally announced the move. They just announced that, hey, if you're planning on buying tickets to this game, maybe book an extra, maybe get a hotel with a free cancellation in Arizona, just to be safe. And I mean, I think overall, obviously that's something that's out of the Vikings' control. This could impact the game in a couple different ways, because as much as people talk about LA being taken over by opposing fans, when the playoffs roll around, I mean, think about Dodger games, think about Laker games, think about some of this other stuff. When the playoffs roll around, LA does show up for their teams in those kind of environments. Now you have the wildfires that kind of, how willing are people going to be to up and go to Arizona for this football game, even if they get if you've already bought the ticket, you get to go to the game still in Arizona. But I just feel like that could impact things. Arizona now would technically have to also kind of go on the road. There's just a bunch of things that obviously the wildfires are the priority, but that's not what the show is about. We're talking about the football aspects and ramifications of this. How do you see this impacting the Vikings game?
For the Vikings themselves, not terribly much. It's the flight to LA or to Arizona is pretty much going to be the same. The accommodations are probably generally about the same. You're talking about Arizona, who hosts the Super Bowl all the time. They wouldn't put the Super Bowl there if the accommodations weren't appropriate. You know what I mean? So for the team itself, it's not really going to be as big of a deal. For fans, it does make getting there a little dicier. There's probably going to be a ton of traffic for folks who are flying into LA and have to rent a car to drive to Arizona. That whatever route that is, Route 66 or whatever it is, from LA to Arizona, that might be it might be a little extra traffic on that road. But I also think, I think that Vikings fans are going to show out pretty well for this game anyway. It's cold here. It's snowy here. This is an opportunity to get to sunny California, or in this instance, Arizona. So I think Vikings fans, CJ, we're probably going to show up in a little bigger force anyway. And also, it's important to look at the calendar and know that we are after January. And where do a lot of Minnesotans go after Christmas to start the new year? They go south, and they go south to three places: Florida, Texas, or Arizona. Mm-hmm. So if there's all of a sudden a ton of availability on tickets because the LA's fan base homes are on fire, I mean, it's crazy. That's like 80 to 100 mile an hour wind gusts that they're dealing with.
It looks awful
on top of it. So like, if they just can't make it because you can't travel out of the community, or quite literally their homes are on fire, tickets are going to be available for this game. And there are Minnesota fans in Arizona as we speak.
Right. So, or think about it like you're a Minnesota Vikings fan who lives in Minnesota, but your grandparents live in Arizona. Now you don't have to buy a hotel. Now you just have to buy the tickets. They'll pick you up from the airport. They'll let you take their car to the stadium.
So what's happening in LA is real, and obviously we're very concerned about that. But on behalf of the Vikings, and not just the team, but what's around the Vikings, I think this could potentially be pretty beneficial for them.
Right. And the fact is that the Rams, who, by the way, have to practice, and they have homes and they have things going on. Like, again, this sounds awful to be like, oh, perfect, the Wildfires are going to throw the Rams off their game. That's not what I'm trying to say. But also, like, this is a distraction, and this is something that's real life that you think about. People who go, like, you know, if you
it also turns into a rally cry.
That's also true. That's also the flip side of it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the Rams have to go play a road game. They have to play now a road game themselves, or they at least have to go on the road.
Right.
You'll get the advantage of just driving to the stadium from your house in the morning. Like, you have to get on a plane, go in a hotel. I mean, it's whatever. It's a 6-hour drive. So the plane ride, you probably like 20 minutes. It's not like the end of the world, but it's still the fact of you have to do all that. You have to get there. You're out of your element a little bit. You don't get to play. You're playing in Arizona. They've played there a bunch, but it's not your home stadium. It just would kind of throw everybody off a little bit in a way that would make kind of everything, I don't know, not more equal, but a little more equal. All I say in all of this, Corey, is, we could just give it to the team with a better record, and we could just play the game in Minneapolis, and then not both teams have to travel. If you want to think about it that way.
Right.
There's no giant wildfires in Minneapolis.
Played in Minneapolis, but the Vikings have to wear white.
They'll just do the whiteout game again. Yeah, they have to play pro Rams propaganda up on the big screens.
I know.
It's like when the NCAA does games and they're like, well, this team is the host. Like, right. Yeah. Like NDSU would have to host, or like Bemidji State or Mankato or whatever. They get to host a away team, but they can't. They also have to like say things that are beneficial. Like the press box, the PA announcer can't be biased, and they have to play ads on the Jumbotron for the other school. And it's like, why even do that? So
there's actually some fairly similar precedent to this also. In December of 2010, this team didn't make the playoffs that year, but they did have their late season messed with because of issues with their stadium. And that was, of course, the Metrodome collapsing in December of 2010, and the Vikings actually having to close out. Remember, they played a home game in Detroit
against the Giants. Yes.
Against the Giants. And they didn't, I don't think they made the playoffs that year.
They did not, because then they played another game at the time, TCF Bank Stadium, which didn't have heating coils underneath this field at the time.
Yes.
Which meant that Brett Favre basically smacked his head on the frozen turf and his career was over. That was the last team he played in.
So the precedent for this is that even though it's not for the playoffs, the example, it's not easy. It's not easy to have your routine because there is a routine via a home game or a road game. When your home game routine is now a road game routine, that's tough. I do want to also bring up again, you're already the Los Angeles Rams. You're already representing the city, but when your entire city is on fire, you're also now actually really playing for your entire city. So there's some of that that I think can really impact this also, if it's not immediately sad and scary.
Right. Coaches are, what is the thing that good coaches do all the time? They find a way to spin anything to get a us against the world kind of vibe.
Yep.
The Patriots Belichick was awesome at always going and making the Patriots dynasty, who would win 14 games every year, feel like an underdog going into their home game in the AFC Championship. And Sean McVay can find a way to use this as a way to bring his team together and to rally and just to, not even like the hyper emotional, like rah, but just as a like, guys, we're locking in today because we're doing this for this. We're doing this for that. It's not even like we're going to just like come out guns blazing, but it's just this is just going to motivate us to lock in and be prepared and know that we're, give us a little extra reason to come in the building 5 minutes early today and all that kind of stuff. So that is also on the table. But yeah, I think that, gut level, I think this game gets moved. Gut level, Corey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Unless you can the forecast is trustable and they're like, I don't know where the fires are compared to the stadium. But if they're just like, you know what, the winds are going to be southerly for 3 straight days, and or beginning on Sunday, it's going to be south winds all day Sunday, all day Monday, and all day Tuesday, we can play this game. But if they're going to be northerly winds, I'm guessing directions. Again, I don't know where the fires are, where the stadium is. But you know what I'm saying? If they can guarantee that those winds are going to be not problematic, then it'll be fine. But also, I don't know where the fires are. The stadium might be on fire too.
Right.
It's easier to play in, it's easier to make a guess on the wind, or it's easier to say if your stadium's on fire, you can't play there, than trying to guess on the wind.
Yeah, that's fair. There is another scenario where this could poorly impact the Vikings, because what if the Vikings delay their airplane to fly out until, let's say, Monday, or it's like a late Sunday? Like,
this is silly. It's private, right?
Yeah.
They could fly out as per usual, knowing that they're going to get a message in the air and just go to
redirect. Yeah.
Just redirect to Arizona. I don't think this affects the Vikings team at all, because they have to go.
Or there could be a situation where they plan on playing it and then the air quality gets bad on the Monday and then they have to play it on like a Tuesday, which they're already there. You just get over to Arizona, but then you have one less day to get ready for potentially a rematch with Detroit or going to Philadelphia or whatever.
I think the added wrinkle here is, I know Arizona is the secondary spot, and that's pretty much the case. But like, what if it's like, you know what, actually we got to do this in San Francisco, or we got to, you know what I mean? Like, there's just this weird, we're going
to go to Dallas. We're going to
right. Exactly.
Just something messed up. Yeah, I think we both think it gets moved. I think the fact that the NFL already said that there is a backup plan in place as hey guys, this is what's going to happen, is one, to tell both teams that this is what's going to happen. Just so that
wind's supposed to die.
Good question. I haven't looked at much of those.
The winds die down today. They're going to be able to one of the reasons these fires are so bad is the winds are so high, and the airplanes that fight these fires can't fly in these winds. So if the winds die down today and are done, and you get the airplanes up in the air to battle these fires, it'll be fine.
Right. I'm trying to see if I know the Star Tribune had something on this, kind of talking about the Vikings' chances of playing. And as of right now, I can't quite find that. But either way, point still remains. wherever they go, they got to beat the Rams. It's going to be a tough one. We'll talk about more about that matchup tomorrow, but that's where things sit. Again, tonight, we got a good game between Menahga and Wadena Deer Creek. Listen to that on the Superstation, and we'll be here to break it all down tomorrow. Once again, this is the Morning Sports Desk, brought to you by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. We'll see you tomorrow.
The Morning Sports Desk, available on demand on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and WDCradio.com.